We just recently delivered Animal for T-Series. There were a couple of big challenges we had right before delivery. Lata ji and Asha ji sang their first duet together in 𝐓𝐇𝐄.
He's pushing boundaries with innovative tech. He's expanding business to new heights. He's the third generation entrepreneur. Introducing our first guest. Please welcome Mr. Anant Roongta, Managing Director of the Famous Studios.
Before we get into the episodic content, we would like to invite you to join our community of the backstage artists. These backstage artists are the true inspiration behind our podcast.
They have pushed us to dig deeper, laugh louder and create endless magic.
Please like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel PIXELZ Unlimited to be part of this exciting journey.
And follow, leave us a comment or even compliment on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. Links are in description below.
Roll camera!
Rolling. शुरू से शुरू करो.
Welcome to our multilingual audiovisual podcast, The Backstage Artist.
Hi, I'm Anant Roongta, Managing Director of Famous Studios. Studios was born in 1946.
The name itself, like it is sort of a manifestation, like we will be, famous.
Yeah, that's true. At the time, I don't think a word like manifest even
Of course.
existed, to be honest. It's something that is cropped up more in the last decade or so. Right? It's one of those things where you don't know what the end goal or the end result will be, it just happens.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened.
Because your grandfather didn't have any background per se in films.
Yes.
So how did he manage then later on?
I think it was just in the blood that any kind of business we would start or get our hands into, we would find a way to run it.
Of course.
So whether it was running a jute trading business, or it was clothing, or it was the stock market or whatever, every single business has a different dynamic, and eventually we just learned how to run that business, and the same thing happened here. And it happened step by step, right? It's not like we came in with a plan that, we'll invest so much in the studio and within the space we'll add everything at once. So when we set up in the mid 40s, it was, for example, the USP was that it was Asia's first air-conditioned studio.
Yeah,
At that time, it was a very, very big thing, the yesteryear actors used to come. Sometimes even if they didn't have a call that day, they would just come, sit and enjoy the air conditioning, That's basically how it went at that period. And then as he moved forward, he realized that there are other opportunities because you'll end up meeting people. He was the second president of the Indian Motion Picture Association. He was a founding member of the Association of Studio Owners. At that time there was an association, so he was a founding member and president of that organization as well. So he was completely out there, in terms of his PR, in terms of understanding what the business was. Then he got into the business of set construction, so like design and construction and production of sets. So that's something that he focused on for a long time. We then imported one of the first film cameras in the country, which is actually lying outside here in the studio.
Yeah,
you've seen that. So it slowly, went more into the tech side. He also became a producer. He produced some, films with Devanand ji. We just kept building and growing the business in a small manner. When my father took over in the 80s, we launched post-production. One of the first studios to do that, and at that time it was very different. You needed a license from the government of India to launch post-production. So we actually have a copy of the Information and Broadcast Ministry approval to us to launch a video services business.
It was not even like post-production.
Yeah, because that term wasn't coined at the time, right?
Sure.
So 85 is when we launched post-production. And then obviously the telecine, and then we again ramped up our rentals business. So we had all these cameras, ARRI 435, 235, eventually Alexa. So that's how it started, and that became a very integral part of our business. We launched Famous House of Animation in 1998. That became a big revenue, variable for us. The sound studio launched a few years before in 1994. So it became like this whole ecosystem,
Exactly.
Famous then was kind of dubbed the Mecca of advertising because the space, it was the original ecosystem, today how we say co-working spaces, that was the original co-working space because you had at least 30 to 40 live TVC production houses. Agencies had their offices close by to our location, it kind of became an end-to-end solution because you had the camera, you had the studio, you had all the post-production technology. So everyone used to come there to get all their work done, you know.
So like you could just take the camera here, shoot it there, and then just post it.
Exactly.
So everything happened.
Everything happened there.
I shot in Famous like once, long time back.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful, like it was just, I had never been to Famous before that, and it was such a, like you get that feeling that you are in the place where there were like proper big wigs have come and visited it. Like it has some sort of history, not some sort of, it has like proper history. Like
yes, in fact, a few days back, I was at the airport and I bumped into Javed Saab. And I'm like, I'm Anant, third generation of Famous Studios. And he just, like his eyes lit up. He's like, beta, you don't realize the amount of days, hours, the time we've spent in your corridors. That is always going to be part of our history growing up into this profession. Whether it was our time in the recording studio or it was our time writing stuff while the shoot is going on. It's such a unique thing, you know. Same even with Prahlad Prahlad ji, you know, it's been like a dawn of the industry for a long time. It all kind of brings back memories and this thing of, okay, fine, this was actually our base where we could build our careers. So a lot of people have fond memories, and when I hear this, I mean, obviously I was not really actively a part of it at the time, I was very young. It just gives me a lot of courage, inspiration to take the next big step in the business, you know. And fortunately, whatever we have achieved since I got back into the company in 2018, everything has not succeeded, okay. I personally have failed many times, which I think is an important part.
But that's business, isn't it? Like you have to do something, you will get something you won't get.
And
so that
it's part of it, and it's not only about the business part, it's also a lot of personal growth that goes into it, because sometimes you set out a plan, you are giving it a certain amount of time for it to grow, and all of a sudden you see it just fall, you know. So these learnings actually just build a lot of character.
Of course,
so it's very important to go through those failures as well. It's been a very seesaw ride. I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to take it forward, and wouldn't be possible unless and until my grandfather and father wouldn't have maintained the business.
Of course, yes.
To what it is. It's very easy to lose your way in this industry. Very easy.
And overall, having such a history of like easily over 50 to 60 years.
78 years.
Wow. Wow. And after independence, was there any kind of difference? Because I heard in one of your interviews where they shot Vande Mataram or
Bharat Bala's production of the Indian national anthem was produced right after the Kargil war. And they basically got like the who's who of classical music from different states, different instruments to get together and perform the national anthem. I mean, nothing comes remotely close to that production.
Of course.
And that is where I remember Lata ji and Asha ji sang their first duet together in Galactica A. It was just gripping, you know, that whole feeling was, I mean,
and you get
can't explain,
goosebumps
can't
just
explain that
listening
feeling.
to that and just watching them.
You can't explain that feeling, and especially because I'm a very I'm very heavy on the nationalism front. So you know, just hearing the national anthem and the fact that that production happened in my studio, that just adds a lot of
of course,
just gets a lot of goosebumps and
of course. But even you having such a history of being in film industry, have you seen any changes? Or of course there has been changes, but what was the difference which clicked you? Okay, fine, I can come in this space and maybe help or go ahead with this.
So I actually had two phases in the company. 2009 to 14, I decided to join Dad's business after I came back from college. At that time, the industry was very flat. There were only, say, 3 or 4 areas where there was any kind of activity happening. I'm not even talking about growth, just activity. So one was the TV show space, all the soaps and things like that. You had the TV commercial space, and you had film. There was nothing else. I was kind of struggling to see, because the revenue numbers were not growing. They were just flat. There was no excitement in the industry. No one was talking about growth. No one was talking about the next big thing. In 2014, I got really frustrated and bored, and I decided to leave the business. My cousin brother, who rather was based out of Calcutta at the time, I decided to partner with him in the sports tourism company, because that's another passion area of mine, which is sports. Around 2018 rather, my father basically came to me and he's like, look, the industry is, I can see certain growth happening in the industry, but I don't have the energy to really latch on to that. So you need to think about this. Do you want to come back? So that was a bit hard hitting. It took me a couple of months to eventually decide to come back. But I just realized that I think I had learned enough in those 4 years to bring the mindset to the business, to really scale it up. Because in our industry today, if you are not aggressive from the production side, or from the post side, or from the technology side, or building the next generation of talent, if you don't have all of that, you will just die. You know, I felt I had that in me, and I came back and I just started. I didn't really bother making a 5-year plan, because for me, I had to also learn what are the areas that had growth. So we looked at the OTT space. So for example, in OTT, you know, one of the trade shows I had visited, IBC, which happens in Amsterdam every September, I overheard a conversation from the guys at Dolby. So they said that, oh, you know what, Netflix is appointing post partners in their post partner program. So I said, I need to get in that, like I can't not get in. And at the time, we had started building our first Dolby Atmos sound recording room in our Santa Cruz facility in Bombay. And I got in touch with the Netflix guys in Bombay, and then they were like, yeah, sure, why not? Why don't you apply? And we applied and we became a partner. It just happened, right? Because
of course, like there has been, like you have already such a big setup.
Yeah, so at that time we didn't have this, right? We didn't have the Andheri studio. This I'm talking 2018.
Car is also like there.
Car also, yeah, it's there, and but at that time we had not even thought of entering the long format space of the business. We're still advertising.
Yeah.
But somehow it just happened. Slowly, we built the long format business there. Unfortunately, COVID kicked in. And then after COVID went away, that is when we decided to take this space and really go for it in the long format space. And it's been here for what 14 months now. It's been very, very difficult. Okay, I don't want to say it's been very good, but at the same time, the good part is we've been able to service some of the leading production houses. We just recently delivered Animal for T-Series, so that itself was a very, very big learning curve for us. There were a couple of big challenges we had right before delivery, but that is where you know our I would say our mindset kicked in, where I was able to get the right person in at the right time to provide a solution for that problem that was created by us only, be very honest. But eventually it all worked out really well. You know, the director, the cinematographer, the producers, they were very, very happy with everything, and we were able to deliver it, right? So that learning has all you know, given us the opportunity to relook at certain businesses in terms of how we want to run those businesses. So yeah, that's, you know, that, for example, that's been a learning curve. Second thing is, in our Mahalakshmi facility, which is the main property, we had about 20 to 25,000 square feet of space that was unutilized, where we were not really earning anything from it. So I was like, what are we doing? You know, why are we wasting this space?
And it's a prime location.
It's a prime location. And at that time, I was exposed to this co-working space in the UK, in a city in Manchester, that was part of this place called Media City UK. So it was this building which was a 4-floored co-working space, and 3 floors of co-working, and the 4th floor, these guys, Vodafone, or it was NatWest, one of the British companies, they had converted it into a technology zone. So I was like, this is so cool. You have the opportunity of setting up your own office. You're surrounded by, there's a media university there as well, which is really good. And then BBC, ITV had their own studios as part of that complex.
Oh wow.
So I was like, why can't I do something similar at Famous? We already had all of this. We need to figure out what is it that we could do with this space. So the first thing was, we got an interior designer to figure out that 20,000 square feet, how can I convert that into a co-working space? So that plan came, we got started, we started building the co-working space. And we've named it Famous Working Company for obvious reasons. We at the time also had a motion capture studio, So one of our studios was dedicated to a mocap facility, again a British company who had a joint venture with us. We already started building something unique. And at the time when we launched the co-working space, Epic Games, which runs Unreal Engine and Fortnite, we had put pen on paper for them to set up their lab at Famous as part of the Indian expansion. But unfortunately, everything just, it just fell down like a domino because of COVID, and we were unable to do it. Then obviously after COVID, you need to completely re-look at your business, and now very happy to say that co-working space is full. We've expanded from, like at that time was 140 seats, now we have around 400 seats.
Oh wow, that is super.
Also, the space is very, very back in action, So we have Jio that produced the entire IPL from there last year, and we're hoping that they would take it again for this year. So Jan to June would be just whole IPL set up in different languages and different commentaries and whatever. So that place has found its charm again, but with the next generation. Now it's before it used to be with advertising, now it's with broadcast, it's with startups. So the place has still retained its charm as a center for excellence, but for the next generation, And as we move forward, there is this excitement about immersive, there's this excitement about us wanting to launch our own IP out of our own space. It could be event-led, it could be thematic-led events, it could be a lot of F&B, it could be a lot of concerts. It's something we're looking to get into in the second half of this calendar year.
So there are like proper big plans for
absolutely.
Famous, and the way what I feel from an outsider perspective, it is just that when you came in, you came with like proper gung-ho, like now is the time, like I have to go with it. And it was also good time because I think OTT was just coming in India.
Yes.
So it was like bang on time for you to
That's
get
another reason why I felt that, and it's not just about OTT. What is the base reason why OTT became big here? It's because of the reach of or penetration of internet and accessibility of the digital technology for a much larger audience in the country.
Yeah, true.
And if you just look primarily by numbers, ZEE5 and Hotstar at the time had the highest number of subscriptions. Right? Because the price point was lower, which is fair. The amount of content that was being produced or still is being produced is just enormous. A lot of live television also moved to OTT. So for example, instead of you watching cricket on Star Sports, you can now watch it on the Jio Cinema app or on Hotstar. It gave access to people on the move. Internet's become a lot faster, a lot better, the infrastructure's become better. That is what has given OTT platforms or existing traditional studios like say a Sony or a Zee or a Star to launch their own OTT platforms.
So that the audience can even get that feel as well as the television which has been there for like 100 years.
Absolutely.
So which makes sense. What do you think as a business person when you start a different like vertical or a different studio? So like what is the research work goes behind it?
So again, it depends on what it is that you are like looking at. The most important thing is the sustainability quotient. Okay. Unfortunately, in our industry or with many industries, a lot of people enter business to make a quick buck. Okay, that's not something that we like to do. And I think because we've had that culture or that mindset as entrepreneurs or owners, we are still very relevant even 78 years later. Right? There are unfortunately many studios that have opened because they wanted to try something different, and then it's not worked out, and then they had no money to service the monthly cost or the P&L. So for us, we are very, very careful with what we want to do. We always look at that if we're entering a particular service segment for that particular segment of the industry, we look at the future of that segment at large. So when I opened the long format facility here in Andheri and then subsequently in Hyderabad a few months later, we very well knew that this industry is going nowhere. It's only going to grow.
Of course.
So that major part of the stress is gone. Okay. Secondly, what helped us realize that this is not just centralized into Bollywood, it is also going to expand in different regions, and that kind of came true especially with the South part.
Yeah,
You've seen the Telugu films do well globally, you know,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why we even opened Hyderabad in the first place,
Fair
to maybe look at that market, and the talent was really good there.
Yeah, of course.
Workflows started becoming better. The OTT platforms started demanding a proper system and process led
Exactly. Yeah.
delivery.
True.
So an industry that was always very unorganized, somewhere you've seen they've taken four or five big steps to become organized.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to say the clients that we have worked with, some of the big producers, almost every single client has paid us on time.
Oh, that is
Yeah. Okay.
marvelous.
As per contract terms, arrangements, they have paid us on time. And that is a big change. And that gives us a lot of confidence
Yeah.
to go back to them for the next project with a better solution.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah.
Then, as I mentioned earlier in the talk, we faced a lot of challenges
Yeah.
with our people, with our workflows. Some machines are not performing. These are teething issues. The one thing which I believe in is being brutally honest with our customer.
Okay.
I always have debrief meetings with my clients. More recently, we had a debrief meeting with one of the producers who's, I won't take the name, but they've been part of our famous studios infrastructure for over 30-40 years now.
Oh my
They have their
God.
offices also there. My father's relationship with him is very deep rooted.
Sure.
But I told my father that it's my responsibility to understand or take a debrief for the recent web show that they released. Where is it that we could have been better? Where did we make a mistake? And what were the good points as well?
Oh, so you go back like after everything is.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Oh wow, that is like
100%.
that is
Like,
really
because
good.
eventually I realized the only way to build a relationship in this industry if you are brutally honest with your client. You have people who go in and say, okay sir, at Famous you are getting a deal of 100 rupees, I will give it to you for 85.
Yeah.
They might get the job, but that's not going to build a long-term relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how I approach it. But at the same time, it's very important for the entrepreneur to understand technically, creatively, what is going to crop up next in the industry.
Yeah.
So it's also staying relevant and understanding what's
Yeah.
new in tech. So for example, we are using certain software in visual effects that not only will help you after the edit comes in, but we can actually start creatively helping you before you go on set.
Oh.
So we are now in the process of creating that product, which is primarily going to be helpful for producers in the long format space.
Oh, wow.
And we've already deployed it in a couple of areas in a small quantity.
So you actually invested in it, or you have team of people who are doing it
So
for Famous?
both. It's been an 18-month journey. Okay, it started in COVID.
Oh, okay.
We built first. It was very important to build the human capital.
Sure.
So the team that's working on that software, slowly, like we've thrown different practical challenges to them, different types of jobs. And then we realized that, we can also use this software for something else.
Oh, okay.
And we sort of started it very simply. Conversation with the client comes to us and says, look, this is a particular sequence that has too many objects and characters. We don't want a situation where we go on set and then we don't know where to place our camera angles.
Yeah.
So we
true.
landed up doing a pre-viz for them, using these softwares. And the same client calls me back after we deliver and said that, Anant, whatever money we've spent upfront is like 1/10 of what we are going to save on set.
Yeah.
So that itself gave me a lot of confidence that look, this is the right product as an extended creative offering for our clients as we move forward.
Oh wow.
So these are the things we are also, as we move ahead with the entire thing, we're also learning, right?
Yeah.
And we're placing one thing after the other, after the other, after the other.
Thank you for tuning in. We are not done yet. We will be joining Mr. Roongta again on our next episode of The Backstage Artist.
Yuma came to us and said, go nuts. So actually something similar happened with Animal, and I was called to the T-Series office by Mr. Sandeep Reddy.
Please like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel PIXELZ Unlimited to be part of this exciting journey.
And follow, leave us a comment or even compliment on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. Links are in description below.